exactly.
too. Okay, so
Okay.
I actually think that now, just because, oh, look, we're live. Oh my
Hey,
gosh.
we're live.
Hey,
There's a
what's
little
going
green
on,
tag,
Forrest?
little green tag on the bottom right that says we're live.
We're
Hey,
live. Yeah,
I'm
exactly. Live
hey,
from, not New York, but live from Florida and live from,
I'm live from New England where the sun
live
just
from
came out because we had like a month and
sunny
a
New
half
England. That's
of
nice.
rain.
Oh my gosh. That's no good. So,
It's no, we have no sunshine here.
oh, that's how very English of
Uh,
you. No, I see it looks like it's now this time of year. I have a funny story about New England. When I was 19 years old, maybe 18, 19, 20, for 2 summers in a row, I went up to New England during when it was the summer break from college. Instead of going home, I went up to New England and I taught art. And yeah, in the
I'm
woods.
sorry.
In the
Okay.
woods. I taught art in the woods at a Boy Scout camp.
Yes.
And it was
I'm sure.
I'm still for all the counselors. It was the most amazing thing because it was the farthest I'd ever traveled by myself. So I went on a plane and landed in the literally in the middle of the woods. I think like somebody who worked for the program picked me up at the airport. They must have picked me up in New York one year because I remember driving through White Plains and the long road into Connecticut. And it was a Boy Scout camp, and they had owned the property for super, super long decades. And they said, okay, well, here's your tent, and nobody else is here, but we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. And I was like, what? So I literally fell asleep with my flashlight in my hand, just burnt down the batteries, and exhaustion took over, and I passed out because here I am from Florida. I think I'd only crossed the state line once to go to Georgia. And I hear coyotes or wolves across like the Connecticut River or something. And I'm literally in pitch blackness, which, you know, I'm a kind of a city girl where I you can't see your hand in front of your face. And I've never been so frightened in my life. But then I ended up having the most amazing summer of my life. So many, just formative experiences. But when I first got there, I must not have gone straight to the camp. I must have gone to a girlfriend's house who was my roommate in college at the time, and I visited her. Well, that was a rambling story, but I have a point. She lived in Essex, Connecticut, and I only remember that because it's a really easy name. And she lived in the house that was at the mouth of the river right next to the marina. And so it was an old Victorian. So I woke up, or when I'm in a new city because I have this like bouncy excitement. So I woke up and the sun was shining and I had a little cup of coffee and I went down to kind of explore, and I went down to the dock and I saw a payphone. Now I'm not that old. Must have been like one of the last payphones ever, but there was a payphone on the dock, and I called my mother, and the first thing she said to me was, "Are you drunk?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "Why are you calling me in the middle of the night?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "It's 5:15. And I said, "What?" The sun was kind of, it was early dawn, but the sun was, glistening across the mouth of the Connecticut River, and there were birds. And I had no idea that once I went that far north, it wasn't exactly midnight sun, but once I went that far north, it really does get brighter earlier and stay brighter later than down where I am by the equator. And so apparently it was pitch black, when I called her in Florida, and she thought that I'd just been, I was 19. She thought that I had just been up all night and was calling her.
It might be light at 3 a.m., yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It might be light at 3 a.m. here in New England.
Yeah.
And at that point, we might be like getting up and going like, wham! Yeah. That's the New England. Yep.
Yeah. And then when I went a little farther north, this is 20 years later, a couple of years ago when I went to Sweden, I wasn't even in northern Sweden. I was in the south, and still.
Northern, southern. It's the same as New England. bam!
Yeah, it was
Mike, when you're
worse. I could. I mean, that Arctic Circle jam, that was crazy. I thought they were joking. It wasn't true midnight sun. You do have to be farther north to get the full midnight sun situation. But it got dark around 1 a.m. and it started to get brighter around, like from 1 to 3. It was dusky plum, but I could still literally see the shapes of all the houses and the trees. That was crazy. Because at midnight, you're like,
screw that.
No, it's glorious.
No, yeah, it's not. It's only like dark between 1 and 3 a.m. in this part of the world.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Exactly.
Yep, that's about it.
I liked it. You could get so much accomplished.
We get things accomplished at this time of year. On the other hand, when it goes over to the other time of year, we're like trying to get ourselves up at 6 in the morning. It's
exactly.
Like,
exactly.
God, I can't believe I'm doing. Yeah.
That was super hard. Wintertime was really hard because I'd get going and have my second cup of coffee and think, "Ooh, what am I going to get done?" And then I'm like, "Wait, what's happening outside?" And it was like 2:45, and it was starting to be dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am equatorially spoiled.
But we won't talk about being dark at 2:45 because it's about to be light at 3 a.m. and we love that. So
exactly.
we like that. So
exactly. Summer. So summer, everybody that I talked to in every part of the country, finally, even the people that had like little last minute snow and things like that, everybody seems to finally be in full summer swing now.
Oh, good. And how are you dealing with books that come in smelling smoky?
Oh, we could talk about, that's a sad topic. Books that smell like fill in the blank. Books that smell like.
We don't have to talk about where you got them.
That's
because this is actually, a topic that I have been talking with people about for decades.
Oh.
And a person that I respected very much back when the internet was young. Back when the internet was young.
Yeah.
And I felt it necessary to talk about every topic on the internet, on Biblio and all the rest of them. And there was this person who was she had an opinion on every topic, and she was a veteran of all the mail order wars and all the rest of it. But then we got to this, but you don't have to say when a book smells like cigarette smoke. And I said to her, "What do you mean by that?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, cigarette smoke is a normal thing, so you don't have to tell when a book smells like that." And we had this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it never got anywhere. Okay. But it's like, you've got to be, these days, that's a big thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I often think about the great smoking rooms and all of the cigars that were smoked in Victorian parlors and things like that. Why do those books from that era not have, you don't ever have any residual things from that. And people, to be fair, I think when I'm smelling something that has cigarette smoke residue, it's usually, to me, very recent. I don't think it's Mad Men era, nicotine hangover. I think that it's pretty recent. But I've often wondered, these people were just literally smoking in the restaurant, in the plane, in the living room, in the baby nursery, and it's just. Yeah.
Well, it's just like when we were watching Mad Men for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was saying, people are saying, "Oh, that's overdone. People didn't used to smoke like that." Well, they did. If you were a baby, and we were babies in the 60s, and then babies and small children, people smoked like that. People were chimneys. People smoked all the time.
Oh my God.
And it was normal. And I have not had a lot of libraries come in like that. We've had one or two that have come in that we have not done anything with, because the smoke does. It just permeates everything.
Yeah, everything. And I'm very, it's not that I'm sensitive to it, like it bothers me, but hold on one second.
Oh, yeah.
I just can tell right away. I mean, it's instantaneous. It doesn't smell like anything else. It's just like, oh, right there. So, I tend to just pitch it, not deal with it. But recently I have a little grouping of something that I want to keep, and I'm going to have to try the remedies. So I was actually talking to, Joyce Godsey of Sick Press. He's one of her businesses. But the main one is, book repair supply. And I said, Joyce, I'm going to need some of that magic stuff, that magic deodorizing thing that she sells, which is it's the best thing in the universe. That and her erasers. Gosh. So so that brings me around to a happier topic. We could either talk about vernacular photography, or we could save that for the end, or talk about now. The other topic that I wanted to kind of touch on, because it's in my heart this week, is fountain pens. I have a new possible obsession coming along the horizon. And I literally, this happened in real life. I actually was joining more groups on Facebook because community joining. I'm all like, ooh. And I saw this one, and I thought it was the Pen Foundation, which does a lot of, Jean Blackwell is watching, and she says she likes the smell of old stale smoke in books. Do we have a library for you? Everybody who has books that they don't know what to do with, send them to Jean Blackwell font, Jean Ignacio font, and we can hook you guys up. And Jean, you're going to have a free library. Like, in a matter of weeks, you could literally build a really, really big library that she could put in her art gallery. She's got a brand new art gallery actually in Miami, because her and her husband are both artists. And you could come up with a witty name for it, like the Smoking Jacket Corner. I don't know. Yes. But that's fabulous. I love it. She loves the smell. I love the notes that are deep and vanilla and earthy that are within the paper. I mean, that's some good stuff if we want to start talking about that. And there's nothing like the smell of a mix of like wood and book spines. And there's a certain barn smell that I'm very inclined to. It's kind of there's a green note above a warm, round mid wood note that's just smells like home on the farm. Yep. I am an Ohio girl in my roots, so something about that hits my nose, and I'm just like, oh.
We're doing wonders, so we have that same thing going on.
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. But okay, so I joined this Facebook group that I thought was a literary group, because PEN is an organization that does a lot of like literary activism. And turns out it was actually a fountain pen collecting group.
Fountain things.
Yes, exactly. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought. And it took about 3.2 seconds of scrolling through the feed. And I was like, oh, I want fountain pens. Now, I've always been fascinated by all things, I don't want to say secretarial, but I think that was probably my first exposure to the things of the office, which is essentially the things of modern business and commerce. I've always been fascinated by everything that was officey. There's got to be a nicer, fancier word for officey, but like not sticky notes, but just, paper and different shapes of things and matching envelopes and the wet thing that makes so that your stamp can be, you don't have to lick your stamps and you don't have to have the George Costanza fiance death, and right. That episode of Seinfeld where she dies because
Dickinson House. You ready to do Emily Dickinson House right here? Because I know Emily Dickinson House people.
Really?
I know Emily Dickinson House people. Like your eye thing, and then we could do Emily Dickinson House people right there with you, and we could just like all together now, and you could be an Emily Dickinson House person right there.
That'd be awesome.
I know Michael and all the rest of them. I will put you together
Yay.
with the Emily Dickinson House people. And now you go ahead with doing. Oh my God, that worked.
So the fountain pen thing, people started commenting, and now I think that I actually have some fountain pens that are on their way to me. One girlfriend said she was going to ship me a vintage one that she had found because she does estate sales in Northern California and comes across all kinds of groovy things. And I'm going to put up the links to all of these amazing, mostly women-run and friend-run businesses that we talk about. I'm not trying to plug them, but they're just amazing what they're doing. That's Whitcomb and Kate estate sales in Sebastopol, California. And someone else told me they were going to send me some fountain pens. P.S. I want to report back. Do you have fountain pens, Forrest?
I do not.
Oh, we have to get you one. So that
I did it one time. It's like I don't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, I ordered a really
like
really
if I had fountain pens, it would consume my life, and that would be the end of it, and you would never see me again.
Yes. I forgot. That is true. You would micro down on the fountain pens because apparently it's not just there is a rabbit hole, right, of cartridges.
A rabbit hole. No, not a rabbit hole.
And ink fetishization, and I think that I could probably find somebody, because I know this guy who does amazing artisanal, 18th century tool making, and I bet that he could make us some customized ink, because apparently the inking of the pen is a total fetish thing, and I want to find someone to I want to start an ink company.
Wait.
No?
Emily Dickinson House people on the other line.
Oh, okay.
Emily Dickinson House Inc.
Yes.
See,
okay.
And this is the problem.
What?
No, because I'm doing Emily Dickinson House Inc. and you're doing 18th century fetishing Inc. And it's
okay. We'll talk about the Emily Dickinson ink.
Is it
deadly? Is it disappearing? Is it?
I don't know.
Well, wouldn't it be fun to have ink? You know the black squid vodka, or no? Is it? It's the spiced rum, and it has a very inky appearance. Wouldn't it be fun to have an ink company called Release the Kraken? Release the Kraken.
That's Release the Kraken is Ian Kahn.
Yes, no, it's just Cthulhu. It's more than Ian. There's plenty of Lovecraft people. Ian's not the only one. And Release the Kraken.
I like that blue. I like that.
Get it?
I did like that blue. The blue was wonderful.
Yeah.
The blue
was fabulous.
But the Emily Dickinson House doesn't know what we're talking about. And if I can get the Emily Dickinson House, and it's them here, there, and then my head explodes.
Let's try. Exactly. Meantime, okay, guess what I'm doing on another window over here? I just went away. I just bought some, we talked briefly about fountain pens, and I want to talk about vernacular photography, but I have to give you some breaking, this is literally happening right now. I just bought 20 miniature books, and I'm super crazy excited. Do you have any miniatures?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Oh, God, I do not.
No?
I do not. Miniature books. And, the thing about miniature books is that, here's the thing about miniature books. I love the thought. I love the fact that, again, Ian has his kids doing miniature books.
That's right. His son. Oh, exactly.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Aiden or
Aiden
the other boy. Yeah. That's right. I forgot that he was doing catalogs. Yes.
It's wonderful.
Good stuff.
And I love the thought of miniature books. Although when I get them in my hands, I can't quite really deal with them.
Right.
But the thing about miniature
Actually,
books
it's strange, right?
that I really love is that they explode in other places. and I don't actually have to deal with that. They explode like over there or over there.
Exactly.
I don't have to explode with it.
Exactly.
And there was something else, but I don't. The Emily Dickens Museum.
Yeah.
Which I've got in my tab here.
Yeah.
I don't remember why.
I'll pull it up too. But I guess my first experience.
Yeah.
My first experience even seeing really good miniatures that just captivated me. Yeah. I remember the moment. It was a little set of either 4 or 5 that many years later, when I was having dinner with some folks at Bromer's, I remember saying, do you guys, this set that I think I saw in your case one year in Boston? And it was a little lacquered Russian fairy tale set, if I recall.
Oh, good. Russian.
You know that set? You know that set?
Yeah, I know those.
Those are gorgeous. And I just remember walking past, and it was that he had like the whole top of a half visibility case with just the minis. And I just went in and just couldn't believe these jewels. And I'm never one for well, that's kind of a lie. I like to keep in check I'm a sucker for tiny, beautiful, sweet things. But I like to be like not as much of a sucker for tiny, beautiful, sweet things. Do you know what I'm saying? I try to put a little grit in my Victorian tendencies. I'm like, no, I'm not going to, I'm not just going to be like that female dealer that does like, tiny, cute things. Do you know what I'm saying? I've always said, no, I'm not just going to be, I'm not going to diminutize and I'm not do dollhousey things. I don't just want to be cutesy. So I think some of it I've pulled away because of that. But also, then when I visited and looked in all the shelves or visited the Grolier Club and looked in all those drawers of part of me also was like, holy crap, I will need a special magnifying glass just to catalog. I was like, I think I'm avoiding bifocals and reader glasses at my age. And I was like, oh my gosh, I will definitely have to wear them to catalog these tiny little things because they're just so, but you know what? Screw it. I want them. I'm going to start with them. I think they're darling. I think it's an interesting little small thing to be able to port around and do shows with. And since I was injured, I kind of got to be careful. And also, they're art books in essence. They are small and fine press. So there's that. They are almost always in a limitation. I mean, maybe they actually are always in a limitation. I'll have to buy Anne's book, right? I'll have to buy Anne Bromer's book, the absolute pinnacle of miniature reference. And I've had like 2 or 3 in my life. And I sold them because when I have a few of something, I think we were talking about daguerreotypes the other day with this. When I only have a few of something, I either want more fast or I just want to be like done. I kind of have this like, thing where like if I'm at a fair and I only have one of a particular genre left, I will sell it so cheap. That's a tip for shoppers. I'll be like, here, you want this? And then I'm like, boom, I'm out. I am out of the carte de visite market. I don't have any more. I just get rid of them. So I did that with the miniatures. I had like 2 or 3 and they were really kind of cute and nice and like from the 20s. One of them I think was a Scottish poetry in tartan silk with a little leather band. Oh my God, it was so cute. Anyway, I'm in them again. It's official. I'm in miniatures.
Well, but you should. And this is like, there's so much. I can't start here. I mean, there are so many different interesting things to be done with vernacular photography.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about vernacular photography. Yeah.
Vernacular photography. There's so many interesting things, the backgrounds, poses, the poses that they do.
Yes.
The stuff. And as a book dealer, as I'm bored with photography, because photography to me was these like big shots of the Sphinx and the rest of it. I didn't understand quite what they were doing.
Okay.
And I still sort of understand what they're doing. But when we look at photography these days, it's like these are shots of life in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 18,
Yeah.
18, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful things. You catch them. And just a shot. And vernacular photography. And there are various Facebook groups now that we belong to. Some of them are snapshot groups where the photographs are not supposed to be posed, and some of them are more loosey-goosey, where the snapshots could have been posed, but they're still really interesting.
Oh, they're
And
amazing.
stuff that would have been just like $1 a piece a decade ago is now sort of seen as interesting and to some of us anyway, interesting as looking at the people of that time.
Yes.
I love that photography. We were doing books, and now screw the fucking books. I want to do photographs.
No, don't screw the books.
Oh,
But we want all of them. It's all paper media. It's all good. But I know what you're saying. I get tired of spines. I fell in love with spines again last summer. I literally rekindled my deep and abiding love of books last summer. I literally had like a born again experience with that of the spine. And so I came back to the appreciation of every facet of the binding, the paper, the stitching, she or he who bound, he or she who, cut or pounded or any of, I fell back into it. But
I'm such an admiration.
I have been an ephemerist. I have been an ephemerist for so long.
And were the
What's
cats
that? Go ahead.
going over you for the cats like that when you did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The cat.
Never mind.
But
If the cats were going over you when you did that.
maybe
Oops.
they're trying to join the talk.
I am sorry. I've got to get
Put
this.
them on speaker.
Oh, God, no. Hello? Oh. Yay. How's it going?
Oh, okay.
All right. Go
All
on.
right. So
Sorry. I was
you can still listen to his side of the conversation.
yes. I do. Oh, okay. That's right.
All right.
Yes.
This is a perfect time to talk about this journal right here, the Ephemera Journal, which is one of the most sumptuous, amazing quarterly or monthly journals
Okay. Did you ever find
of a society, the Ephemera Society of America. This is the journal. It's so chock full of scholarly and in-depth, sophisticated, intelligent articles. And all the back articles are digitized and available on the Ephemera Society website. I mean, you could read for years. Written by some of the best in the world in the field. Here's the story. Don't tell me you're talking about it.
I'm sorry, we're back.
That's okay. Hi. You know
We're
what?
back.
That's totally cool. Was that Amy?
Yes, that was Amy.
Yeah. How is she?
She's on the vineyard. She's fine.
Oh, good. You know what? I just realized something. I think that the weekend shows, I say plural because I plan to keep doing this. I think that we should have it be this free and easy and fun because it's the weekend. I mean, if
Who cares what we talk about?
we have a friend, Evan Rowe, he's a friend of the family, and he has a great saying. He says, I'm an out of control freak. Get it? He says he's an out of control freak. Like, no, we don't have to have a format. I'm not format specific.
Oh, yeah.
But back to photography. So when did you realize, I know when I realized that I was I don't want to say a collector because I've never been a serious collector, but I remember the moment that I realized that actually photography talked to me. And in fact, I remember the photograph, and I have the photograph that first like spoke to my soul. And I said, wow, that just transmitted more in a imperceptible, nanosecond than text and words. And I mean, in a way, it's just a different experience because it's fast and it doesn't take you don't have to contextualize it necessarily the way you do an ephemeral image or even a book. I mean, it's kind of an easy hit. It's an easy hit to see an image, but at the same time, that isn't to take away from the sophisticated, collector or connoisseur that understands, like anything else, the pre and post history to bookend why this image, is meaningful, or, the historical context or the documentary context. But it sure doesn't take much of a curve to just know when an image speaks to you. Boom.
Oh, it does. It does. And it's like I've been doing that for the past 20 years because one of the first images I got was at a book show in Concord, New Hampshire, the Concord, New Hampshire book show. And it was a beautiful photo of the tent on the top of the mountain there.
Oh, wow.
Top of Mount Washington, the tent there, where it's like 10 degrees below zero. And that's the high point of the year.
Yeah.
Like a silver print of that tent there.
Oh, wow.
I've got that. That's here on the staircase when you come back. And I've got a couple of photos like that are just wonderful. And that's the sort of photo that took me to this place and that made me think that, these photos are wonderful. We've got a photo I'm looking at right now that is a Victorian photo of a man and his wife and their daughter sitting on like Colorado riverbank. I don't know how to explain it other than that. This is one of my favorite personal photos. I bought this years ago for like $10. I will never, ever sell it.
Never.
Like 10 by 13. And it's like they're on this Colorado riverbank in the 19th century, and he is in this three-piece suit, and his wife is in her and the daughter is in the daughter thing with this big bow coming out, and they're like, and they're on the river bank.
On the riverbank.
Colorado River, looking like they're theoretically in the middle of New York.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
The ties and the bow ties and the suits and all the rest of it. And it's just wonderful. And it's like you look at these things and you think, what the hell was going on?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And, the immediacy. There's something different about reading about someone's transmission of events from that time period, or reading even something autobiographical from that time period. Of course, we can glean from print history what was happening from the production side, but we're getting a secondhand idea when we're looking at the creation. And we always talk about letters giving us that to me is the prime example of ephemera, giving us the paper not lying kind of moment where it's really the truth that we're seeing, in front of us. But to get the image to go along with that, it's like peering back in time. I mean, I'm rather Amish about that. I really think like, wow, I feel like I'm almost sometimes seeing too much somehow. I mean, and of course with vernacular photography, when we become the guardians of these boxes of memories, and then we as these temporary owners or permanent owners become, the keepers of these memories that someone else has either discarded or lost by accident, or just, how you can't keep everything. There is something so emotional about being able to look into these eyes, looking back at us from 100 plus years ago. It's really, really amazing. So for me, it's always not quite portraiture, but it is always a person subject that are the photographs that just knock my socks off. Just like letters, I can hear that voice, and I want to kind of honor them, and I want to kind of like tell their story again. And in some cases, like this photograph that I just bought this photograph of the girl with the overbite. I just want to protect her forever. Like there's something about me. I need to now be her guardian,
It's
what I want to know. Yeah.
I think I told you this story. We had a letter. I had a 3-page letter that we transcribed, and it was an 1880s letter from a teaching student from the Midwest who went to Montana, and she talked about her train trip out, to Montana, and she talks about looking at the immigrants, and she's a white woman growing up in Minnesota or whatever. And she talks about looking at these immigrants who are obviously of European origin and feeding their kids, et cetera, on the train out. And she sympathizes with them, but she's also describing them as what they are. And then I looked her up on the internet because we have those things now that we can look these people up. And she went to Montana and she taught first and second grade, and then she died of diphtheria. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You've got this handwritten letter of this young woman who went out to the West, to Montana, and then died of diphtheria. Teaching.
Exactly. Yes.
It's a thing.
My favorite letter, I think it still is my favorite as far as a personal story. And it was the first one that I said, wow, how do we bring these to life more than just it's sitting in front of my desk? I feel selfish sometimes being the only person privy to reading this voice, right? And it was a gentleman who was down, I'm assuming, doing some sugarcane runs down in Trinidad and in Cuba. And he was writing back home to Boston. And he's talking about the mosquitoes and how much he misses home. And I can only imagine for a time that he was doing it to make good money while he could. And so he I think was sponsoring the ship. He wasn't working on the ship. He was sponsoring it and, doing these runs to make money. But in the letter, he takes about a half of the letter to kind of touch on everyone's name. And this is something you see, right, all the time in letters. So first of all, like we talked about before in Victorian letters, they always start off with health announcements. But they don't just say hi to everybody for me. We take tend to take for granted now that like, oh yeah, say hi to everybody else says hi. And we do this generalized thing. But in these letters, there was this, ceremony of say hello to Aunt May and remember me to Charlie and remember me to Dorothy and remember me to, they would speak everyone's name. And I imagine because of a few things, but placing myself there, if you waited for a letter, or the kind of patience that took, and you got it and you all were passing the letter around, you knew when you were writing it that it was going to get passed around and it had longevity. And if you were even remotely close in the circle and were not mentioned, can you imagine how that would have been like not, I guess, getting a present at Christmas time or something like that, where you're like, well, what do you mean you just said hi to Charlie? Well, what about, And so they would go, my youngest daughter does that. She can't start like a thought or a prayer or a gratitude moment without she goes, well, and you, and thing it, and she lists everybody. And I think the same thing was happening in the letters. They felt that this, first of all, I think they walked around with the knowledge that perhaps it was always maybe the last time that someone would receive it. It was still miraculous that someone was going to read this on the other side, and they didn't know what was going to, happen on the other side of that letter. My computer, this always trips me out. I have Flux on my laptop and my desktop. F.lux, it adjusts the blue light down. You can set it for sunset according to your zip code. And so it would just now fluxed down and got all yellow, and it just confused me. It's kind of like after they give you the weird yellowing drops at the optometrist. It's all, whoa. But my Trinidad letter is written, I love this. This is a fountain pen back tie-in. This is very common. It's written in violet ink. but I think it was my first violet ink letter. And,
Wow.
and I just, oh, it's just scrumptious. And the way he, and of course, people were spelling colloquially, and they were not fully literate, even if they were engaged in international commerce. And so all of the spelling is that, that phonetic spelling and the remember me to all these people, please don't forget me, and pleading for letters from home. Those are the ones that always get you when they're writing a letter, pleading for letters. And they're like, look, it's on I received your letter of the 23rd. And I sent yours on this. I mean, they're very clear with dates and transmissions too. It just seems like everybody had a different level of accountability for that kind of communication. Right. What you doing?
Be right back.
Okay.
Be right back.
Okay. If anybody is watching while we're live, because we're live on BeLive, which is an amazing platform that streams directly through Facebook, and you can talk to friends or colleagues or people around the world and put it on your own business page or personal page, or you can just do tests a million times like I did in the beginning to see how it all works. And if you comment, I should be able to see it here like this, and I can, Jean Blackwell said woohoo. I think she said it a while ago, but there it is. So if you're watching, comment and let me know you're here if you would. So I am so tempted to pull some of my favorite photography out and show it. But until we get some different functionality here in the show, it's this whole put it up to the camera situation, which is always annoying when people do it to me. I don't like seeing this 3D image coming towards the camera. So when talk show format functionality comes to me, which is something that is in beta through BeLive TV, I will be able to, Jean says she's still here enjoying the conversation. When talk show format comes to me, hopefully, I'll be able to pop in an image that refers to what we're talking about. Because so much of what Forrest and I and so many other booksellers and ephemera dealers and photography specialists, what we deal with is all this amazing tactile graphic visual material. And it would be really, really great to be able to share a shot of what we're talking about with you. And if anybody has a question about something that they have on their desk, in their treasure box, on their library shelf. Leslie, hi! Hello. Yes, it's Memorial Day weekend, and it's Saturday night, and I figure everybody's probably either at a clam bake or on the vineyard or getting ready to celebrate with family and friends and loved ones and honor those who we are memorializing. But I didn't know if anybody would even be here to say hello, so it's always nice to see somebody saying so. This is just to get out all of the rough spots and just to start this conversation that I'm calling Book Tribe, because we are all in this amazing world where we buy and sell and get the amazing privilege of working with historical material day in, day out. And even if that is not your trade by day, a lot of people are fascinated by the history that surrounds it, because it's what makes us human and what makes us all who we are, gives us all our stories. So I'm kind of enthralled with bringing everybody around the table and talking about it from any angle possible. Right, Forrest?
Yes, that's right. Any angle possible.
Oh, Forrest, so can you see who's popping in and commenting? Because Leslie Arthur, who I just love with so much of my heart, she's in New Haven, and she just popped in to say hello. And I'm happy to know that all you New Englanders are actually in real summer now. That makes me happy.
We're not in real summer.
You're not, but you deserve it after your winter.
We're not in, Leslie, help me out here. We're not in real fucking summer. It's been incredibly cold and damp.
Oh, crap. I didn't know. Oh, I thought it was finally.
Oh, never mind. There's that.
Oh, is that friend?
Yeah, and I don't know. Leslie, help me out here. We're not. Yeah, it's not. Oh, there she goes. I'm still here enjoying that.
Yeah.
It's God help us. It's not summer here in New England.
Summer in New England. Well,
So
here's a word that I can't say. Oh, yeah, here. Leslie is definitely got your back, and she says it's still too cold. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's still too cold.
Sorry,
Well,
Kara.
it's 92 here today, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
I would switch. I would switch with any of you Northerners, because anybody that knows me knows that I love to be cold. I really do. I love to be cold.
We've got a guest room up here.
I know. New England calls.
Where is Gabe?
Yes. That is where somewhere north of the is the Mason-Dixon line horizontal? Somewhere north of the Mason-Dixon line,
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the ephemera journal. This is the new one that just came. And this is so cool. I don't know if I could even say this word. This word starts with a V, and it describes, much like bibliophilia describes the love of books, this describes the craze, the 19th century craze relating to cycling.
Oh, Velocipedomania.
Velocipedomania!
Velocipedomania, you betcha. Oh, yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag Velocipedomania.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has actually ever used that hashtag. That might be a hashtag first. But I haven't even cracked this yet. I love my ephemera journal when it comes. I mean, I just love it. What's your favorite 19th century cycling piece of ephemera that you have?
We've got some ephemera here. We have actually the I feel like 3 or 4 pieces of journaling ephemera where the American Cycling Association was buying ads and buying printing.
Oh, okay.
And asking $20 or $30. No one wants to buy the goddamn things. I mean, so anyone who wants to buy those, Kara, these are wonderful things.
Are they? My favorite. I don't have much cycling ephemera. I actually know where you can quote those for us. I'll tell you off the air. I know where you can quote them. But it's an institution. It's an institution, but the person behind the institution collects personally. But my favorite and probably my only cycling ephemera is I have got these 5 beautiful. I don't know why they haven't sold yet. These 5 hand-painted baptism cards. I think that they might have been done as samples or prototypes, and they're hand-painted with flowers. They're probably 1880s, and they're French. But here's what's cool. On the back of them is it's trade card print for a Parisian cycle shop that is advertising the newest. I don't know what bicycle it was. I can't remember, but I dated the cards by when that bicycle was being, kind of heavily sold and advertised in Paris. And so the fronts were blank, clearly, because they were able to be canvases, and the back is a bicycle shop in Paris.
Yeah.
So that's I think that might be the only Velocipedomania thing I have. That and one ad sheet that has it's examples of cuts that you could print magazine, I guess. And it's like 1870s and they're bicycle cuts. But that's it for me for bicycles.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how ephemera people, ephemera tribe, isn't it funny how they're so specific? One time I was at a fair and I had somebody say, "Hey, do you have any trade cards with organs?" And I was like, duh, yeah, I have Etsy, a couple of those. And he's like, "Oh no, that wasn't it. Do you have any trade cards that have any musical instruments?" Yes, I do. "Do you have any trade cards that have a harpist?" Yeah, I do. Okay, well, the harpist has to be a man and he has to be wearing a hat. It was like doop, going down the Maslow's hierarchy of needs for trade card specificity.
Oh yeah. We had at the Boston Book Fair, we had this wonderful encyclopedia map that was Paris and the entire all the cycling things in Paris.
Ooh, pretty.
Wonderful, wonderful map. And it was one of these canvas back things that put out. That was wonderful.
That sounds cool. I'm not going to get up and play show and tell, and I said I wouldn't put the stuff at the camera, but I feel like I want to show you Ruth Anderson. This is the photograph that I just arrived that I had bought this week. She has an overbite, and that's how she was described, and she's just beautiful and lovely, and I'm just
oh, it's the picture.
So enamored by her. It's a stunning image. It's an actually really beautiful studio shot. It's got a really smoky blur. The way that the studio did the shot is stunning. It's crisp and beautiful. It's got a lot of depth. It's not your average cabinet card image. And she does have an extraordinary overbite, and possibly looking at her body, possibly something else going on as well. And somebody in this thread where I bought her, somebody made a comment that was pejorative about her. And I had already said that I would buy it. And instantly when I saw that, first of all, I saw red and I wanted to hurt this person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How could you like poke fun at anybody, let alone, the dead? And now, and at that moment when she came in the mail, I realized, oh my, so let's see if I can get it clear enough to see, because I hate when people put things up that are moving images. It's so annoying. Can you see her?
I see her. I remember this image because I saw this image. She's not necessarily clear here.
Oh, okay.
But that's not necessarily helping.
No, when people do that, it's so annoying. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But I remember her. I remember this image. It's a wonderful.
Yeah, I love her. Her name, and that's my grandmother's name, Ruth. But you had asked if the embossed image, which is a very nice Art Nouveau embossing on the front of the card wrap, it's not gilt. It's just blind embossed. To answer your question, but she's awesome. I'm going to protect her forever.
Now, so you should post her on your.
Oh, I should share her on my page. Absolutely. Yeah, right in this thread. Oh, yay. Jean says you can see her. I mean, I'm sorry for that. When people do this with stuff and cameras, I'm always like, whoa. It's like worse than 3D.
But, when you see her on your page, it's a wonderful, wonderful image. I love that image.
It's amazing. Oh. And the other images that I have, like in my I had a very small personal collection of photography that when I saw these images was just like, whoa, like these people belong in my heart, and Let's
talk about images next week.
Yeah, let's do that. Absolutely.
This is a wonderful thing. I love vernacular photography now. Mm-hmm. It's this thing that I have just discovered. And vernacular photography is just like this cool thing on the web that I've just found. Let's talk about that week.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, we should wrap. We've been on for half an hour, and we said we would just do a little bit of chit-chatting. And it was great to talk to you. Of course, I'll talk to you before then. And and any night at 7 or 7:30 p.m., I will post a link, and we may be here talking about all things print media, print history, history, art, culture, social, science, anything in between, photos, letters, and books, of course, because we're the Book Tribe. Okay, bye. Book Tribe. Peace out.
Bye.
Peace out. Bye.